The laughter echoed across the executive parking lot, sharp enough to stop conversations and turn heads. It lasted only a few seconds, but for Ethan Parker, it felt like an eternity. Standing beside a rust-covered sedan that looked like it belonged in a scrapyard rather than outside a billion-dollar technology company, Ethan lowered his eyes and pretended not to hear. The faded blue paint peeled away in patches. One headlight was held in place with silver tape. The bumper carried dents from years of hard use. The car looked exhausted, just like the man who drove it. And the person laughing was none other than Victoria Reynolds, the powerful CEO of Reynolds Dynamics. What happened next would leave an entire company speechless. Before we begin, if you believe kindness matters more than appearances, and if you believe everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs inspiration today, and subscribe to the channel. Also tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps bring more emotional stories like this to life. The morning sun reflected off the glass walls of the company headquarters, creating a picture of success and wealth. Employees arrived in luxury vehicles worth more than many people's annual salaries. Expensive suits, designer handbags, and polished shoes filled the entrance. Then there was Ethan. At 38 years old, Ethan was a single father raising his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Life had not been kind to him. 5 years earlier, his wife, Sarah, had passed away after a long battle with illness. Medical bills had swallowed their savings. The house they once dreamed of keeping had been sold. One setback followed another until Ethan found himself rebuilding his life from almost nothing. The old sedan parked in the corner of the lot was one of the few things he still owned outright. He had bought it for $300 from a retiring mechanic years ago. Most people saw a pile of junk. To Ethan, it was survival. It got him to work. It got Lily to school. It got them home. That was enough. Victoria Reynolds stepped out of her luxury electric sports car worth nearly $200,000. She was known throughout the industry as brilliant, ruthless, and demanding. At 42, she had transformed her father's struggling business into a corporate giant. She valued results. She valued efficiency. And she valued appearances. As she walked toward the building with several executives following behind her, her eyes landed on Ethan's battered sedan. The laughter escaped before she could stop it. She turned to one of the executives and shook her head. The nearby employees chuckled nervously. Ethan heard every sound. His face reddened. But instead of responding, he simply picked up his worn backpack and walked inside. Years of hardship had taught him something important. Arguing with people who judged him was a waste of energy. He had bigger responsibilities waiting at home. Lily needed him. That evening, Ethan arrived at their small apartment after another exhausting day. The moment he opened the door, Lily sprinted toward him. Her smile instantly erased much of his stress. She wrapped her arms around him. The apartment was tiny, but it was filled with warmth. Drawings covered the refrigerator. School projects decorated shelves. Photographs of happier times sat carefully framed on the walls. Lily noticed something unusual. Her father seemed quieter than normal. After dinner, she sat beside him and asked if everything was okay. Ethan smiled and assured her it was. But deep inside, the humiliation still lingered. He wasn't embarrassed by the car. He was embarrassed that people assumed his value was equal to what he drove. That night, after Lily fell asleep, Ethan grabbed a flashlight and headed outside. Most of the apartment complex slept while he carefully opened the hood of the old sedan. What nobody knew was that Ethan had a secret. Years before joining Reynolds Dynamics as a senior engineer, he had been one of the most gifted mechanical innovators in his field. After Sarah became sick, he walked away from opportunities that could have made him wealthy. Family came first, dreams came second, yet his passion for engineering never disappeared. Every spare dollar he could save went into a private project hidden beneath that rusty hood. Night after night, month after month, year after year, he worked, not for recognition, not for money, but because creating things gave him purpose. Inside the battered sedan sat an engine unlike anything most people had ever seen. The exterior of the car looked worthless. The technology inside was revolutionary. Using recycled components, discarded prototypes, and thousands of hours of personal labor, Ethan had quietly developed an energy-efficient engine capable of achieving performance levels experts believed impossible. No investors, no corporate backing, just one determined father working after his daughter went to sleep. The project became his private dream. His reminder that life had not defeated him. Weeks passed. At Reynolds Dynamics, pressure mounted. The company faced a serious problem. A competitor had announced breakthrough energy technology that threatened to dominate the market. Stockholders demanded answers. Investors demanded innovation. Victoria pushed every department harder than ever. Long meetings stretched into late evenings. Deadlines became impossible. Tension filled every hallway. One afternoon, senior executives gathered for a critical strategy meeting. Ideas were presented. Budgets were discussed. Charts filled giant screens. Nothing impressed Victoria. Then someone mentioned Ethan Parker. Several engineers quietly acknowledged his reputation for solving difficult technical problems. Victoria reluctantly invited him into the discussion. When Ethan entered the boardroom, some executives exchanged doubtful glances. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't politically connected. He wasn't the type of employee who constantly promoted himself. But he was respected by those who understood engineering. As discussions continued, Ethan calmly identified flaws in existing development plans. Then he proposed a radically different approach. The room fell silent. The concept sounded almost impossible. Victoria dismissed it immediately. The numbers seemed unrealistic. The efficiency claims seemed absurd. Several executives agreed. Ethan simply nodded and returned to work. He didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. He had learned that some truths required proof. 3 days later, a company-sponsored innovation showcase was held at headquarters. Employees were encouraged to display independent projects and creative concepts. Attendance was mandatory for senior leadership. Victoria arrived expecting little more than ordinary presentations. Tables filled the exhibition hall. Most projects were predictable. Incremental improvements, minor upgrades, safe ideas. Then she noticed a crowd gathering near the far corner. People whispered excitedly. Engineers pulled out phones. Executives pushed closer. Curious, Victoria walked toward the commotion. At the center stood Ethan. Beside him sat the same rusty sedan she had laughed at weeks earlier. Some employees looked confused. Others looked amused. Victoria folded her arms. Then Ethan opened the hood. The room changed instantly. Silence spread through the crowd. Engineers stared in disbelief. Eyes widened. Conversations stopped. The engine inside looked nothing like conventional systems. Elegant, compact, revolutionary. Every component reflected extraordinary ingenuity. People leaned closer. Experts began asking questions. Technical discussions erupted. One engineer examined the specifications and nearly dropped the tablet he was holding. Another called colleagues from different departments. Within minutes, word spread across the entire building. Victoria listened as specialists analyzed performance data. The numbers were staggering. Fuel efficiency exceeded industry standards. Power output shattered expectations. Manufacturing costs appeared dramatically lower than existing technologies. The room buzzed with excitement. For the first time in years, Victoria found herself speechless. Then came the biggest surprise. Ethan explained that nearly every component had been developed using discarded materials and parts salvaged from obsolete prototypes. The revolutionary engine had been built largely from what others considered useless junk. Just like the car surrounding it. Just like the man many people had underestimated. Victoria felt a knot form in her stomach. Memories of her laughter returned. Suddenly it sounded cruel, small, embarrassing. She realized she had done exactly what she often criticized others for doing. She judged without understanding. She saw appearance and assumed value. For the first time, she saw Ethan clearly. Not as an employee. Not as a man driving an old car. But as a brilliant engineer carrying invisible burdens. Over the following weeks, independent evaluations confirmed the technology's potential. Industry experts called it groundbreaking. Investors showed immediate interest. The company's future transformed almost overnight. Yet Ethan remained unchanged. He still arrived early. Still worked quietly. Still drove the same old sedan. The attention never seemed to matter. One evening, Victoria asked to meet him privately. As they spoke, she learned about Sarah. About the hospital bills. About the years of sacrifice. About Lily. About the countless nights spent balancing fatherhood and innovation. Every detail deepened her respect. Victoria realized she had spent years measuring success through numbers, titles, and appearances. Ethan measured success differently. His greatest achievement wasn't hidden beneath the hood of a car. It was the little girl waiting for him at home every night. Months later, Reynolds Dynamics launched a major partnership centered around Ethan's technology. The company experienced unprecedented growth. Employees celebrated. Investors celebrated. The media celebrated. But the moment that mattered most happened far away from cameras. A special company event invited families to headquarters. Children toured the facility and met employees. Lily proudly walked beside her father through the building. She listened as engineers praised him. She watched executives shake his hand. She saw people admire the man she had always admired. Victoria approached them. The CEO knelt slightly to speak with Lily. The little girl smiled and pointed toward her father. Her eyes sparkled with pride. She explained that her dad was her hero because no matter how hard life became, he never gave up. He always kept going. He always helped others. He always believed tomorrow could be better. Victoria felt emotion rise unexpectedly. Because she realized something profound. The revolutionary engine wasn't the most remarkable thing Ethan had built. Character was. Resilience was. Hope was. Years later, people would remember the technology. Industry magazines would write about it. Business schools would study it. Competitors would attempt to copy it. But those who knew the full story remembered something even more important. A rusty $300 car had taught an unforgettable lesson. Value isn't always visible. Genius doesn't always wear expensive suits. Strength doesn't always arrive in luxury vehicles. Sometimes the most extraordinary people hide behind ordinary appearances. And sometimes the person everyone laughs at is quietly carrying greatness beneath the surface. Before we reach the end of this story, if Ethan's journey touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with friends and family, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Your support helps these messages of hope reach people who may need them today. And please leave a special comment below. What is one lesson this story taught you about judging people by appearances? As the sun set over the city that evening, Ethan drove home in the same old sedan. The paint was still faded. The bumper was still dented. The headlight was still held together with tape. But none of that mattered. Inside sat a father heading home to the person who believed in him long before the world did. And sometimes, that kind of belief is worth more than any fortune. Because the greatest treasures in life are not found in what people see on the outside. They are found in the strength, kindness, sacrifice, and love hidden deep within the human heart. And that is something no amount of money can ever buy.